Sixers fans, how we feeling out there? Hey y'all, my name is Lauren Gordon. Some of you may already know me on social media as Lauren Fan of the Year. Others may have just stumbled upon this podcast, but either way, I want to first thank all of you for tuning in to Season 2, Episode 6 of my very first podcast, I'm Just a Sixers Fan, the Lauren Fan of the Year story. Now let's continue the story. Y'all, the time is now the end of July 2020, and we had just gotten the news that the 2019-2020 season would resume in the bubble. Now, on July 18th, civil rights activist and former U.S. Representative John Lewis had passed away, and Black Lives Matter was a whole movement. Then Blue Lives Matter became a thing, and the entire country was divided and pitted against each other. There was civil unrest, bloodshed, and let's not forget, y'all, we were still in a pandemic. People were also consumed with Will and Jada's entanglement mess. I tried to not get caught up in all the distractions, and I questioned how I could do my part to create an America where everyone felt seen, valued, and respected. I stood with Colin Kaepernick and his right to kneel in peaceful protest. I wanted justice for Breonna Taylor. And during this time, we were constantly reminded of death, sadness, and grief. And then, y'all, in late July, Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain died. Even a good friend of mine who I went to school with passed away. As y'all can probably tell at this point, listening to all the episodes of my podcast, throughout my life, during any dark periods, my Sixers was my distraction, my escape, and it provided a sense of joy. And that had been gone with the NBA shutdown. I couldn't escape the negativity, the evil, and the hatred because it was all over television, all over social media. It was everywhere. And thank God, y'all, I had just moved into my new house. And each morning I'd wake up full of gratitude and excitement. My house was fully renovated with new kitchen appliances and cabinetry. So the settling in part was easy. But I was just grateful that I had my house to focus on. I was able to distract myself by staying busy with cleaning, unpacking, and making my new house into a home. I was also looking forward to seeing the NBA teams play in the bubble. It was a controlled environment, but it was something that would give me a taste of the old normal prior to COVID. Our very own Matisse Thybulle made video blogs sharing his experience inside the bubble. And I enjoyed and appreciated his creativity. Because y'all, as a fan, it was great to have that window into the players' day-to-day routine, seeing how they navigated through the bubble all while social distancing. As fans, we were grateful that Matisse took us along his journey, and he even appeared on Good Morning America talking about his video blog in the bubble, and we were so proud of him because he represented our Philadelphia 76ers so well. But y'all, once the vaccine became available, it was later leaked that Matisse Thybulle refused to be vaccinated. And he would end up receiving backlash based on public opinion. And I felt bad for Matisse. His reasons for not getting the vaccine were valid. He had lost his mother. And my heart went out to him. That's the mama bear in me. My personal thoughts are, it should be solely at the discretion of the individual when it comes to vaccines or anything that is consumed or affects the individual's body. Government should not control what people do with their bodies. There were other ways to slow down the spread of the virus. Wearing masks, hand washing, social distancing, self-quarantine. All of these things without threatening someone's livelihood to force them to do something to their bodies that they didn't feel comfortable with. My thing was, if you want the vaccine, great, get it. And if you don't want the vaccine, great, don't get it. It should be a personal choice. Again, my personal opinion. We had a 3-game scrimmage, and y'all, it felt like heaven. I missed watching NBA games, especially my Sixers. I didn't care if it was a scrimmage. I was just thrilled to have basketball back, and I began to feel like my old self again. On July 31st, Society 76, which is the season ticket holders group, arranged for season ticket holders to drive to the Wells Fargo Center and receive a fan pack curbside. It included a Sixers t-shirt, a Sixers cap, snacks, and I believe a Sixers mask. It was definitely a morale booster, and it was much appreciated. Then on August 1st, it kicked off the Sixers seeding games, and we were scheduled to play the Indiana Pacers. Fans were still unable to attend any games, but it was nice just to see my guys on television hooping again, especially in August, because that's usually our off season. My daughters Kirby, Kendall, and I participated in a fan cheer video, which appeared in a commercial on NBC Sports Philadelphia. And during the bubble time, y'all, I was fortunate to be one of the select few season ticket holders who got to be a virtual fan. And y'all, it was weird seeing myself on a Zoom screen during a live game that simulated fans in the arena. But at the same time, I had to admit, technology is amazing. I felt connected to the team, the game, and the other fans. It was so much fun. And it was the next best thing to actually being at the game. Now, on August 5th, we beat the Washington Wizards 107-98. Embiid had 30 points, 11 rebounds, a double-double, but Ben left the game in the third quarter with a knee injury. Now, there was talk that it would be a first-round exit for us without a healthy Ben Simmons. And even though we had a decent squad with Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, Josh Richardson, we still needed Ben. So let me be clear, y'all. I was a Ben Simmons fan. Like, I get the fact that Ben didn't shoot, but you can't deny the fact that he did play great defense. And we always put Ben on the opposing team's best player. And he did a really good job shutting them down, or at least slowing them down offensively. For some reason, defense isn't always appreciated like offense. Sometimes it's a thankless position. And if memory serves me correctly, yes. Here we go. Yes, y'all. We also had a really good bench with Shake Milton, Alec Burks, Matisse Thybulle, Furkan Korkmaz, and my guy, Mike Scott. So, yeah, we had a really decent squad. On August 8th, news broke that Ben Simmons would undergo surgery on his left knee and would leave the bubble. And I was like, damn. Then the next day, on August 9th, we played the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, this was when Damian Lillard was the Trailblazers franchise player. And y'all, he ended up scoring 51 points against us. Keep in mind, we didn't have Ben for that game. And then Embiid got hurt in the first quarter with an ankle injury, and he did not return. He contested a shot, backed up, got twisted up, and it was another Joel Embiid injury, another Sixers injury. And even though we lost that game, I appreciated the other guys who stepped up and gave their all. I will always applaud effort. So, y'all, due to the NBA shutdown, there was a shortened 2019-2020 season, and our Sixers ended the season with a 43-30 record. Later in August was playoff time. And y'all, of course, we would have to face off against the Boston Celtics. We ended up losing game 1, 109-101. And I remember I was annoyed with Embiid at the end of the game. And I felt like instead of him trying to shoot that three, which he missed, I would have preferred him to be down low for the possible putback and an and one. That was my problem with Embiid then, and that's my problem with Embiid present day. Y'all, I'm like, get your big ass up under the freaking rim. But I get it. Embiid likes to shorten his court and shorten the distance he has to run back and forth. And as much as that drives me crazy, I have to admit that he is pretty effective at the 3-point line. Like, I'm one of those people that are be like, don't shoot that, Embiid, don't shoot it. And then it'll go in and I'm like, yes, Embiid, yes. And I do have to admit that when he's out at the 3-point line, it does draw out the defense. So it gives the other guys a chance to get open. So I get it, but it just frustrates me because y'all have to remember, I'm from like the old school NBA era. I like to see the big guy down in the paint. Now, before game 2, it was announced that Celtics small forward Gordon Hayward would miss at least a month due to a bad ankle sprain. Now, I don't like hearing of players' injuries, but I thought he's a good player who's out for the Celtics, and who knows, my Sixers may actually have a chance. I knew it would be tough because at the time, the Celtics had a young Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and Daniel Tice as their center. They also had a good bench with Marcus Smart, Robert Williams III, Enes Kanter. Remember him? He changed his name to Enes Freedom, very similar to our Lloyd Free changing his name to World Be Free, and Ron Artest changing his name to Meta World Peace. Okay, so now, y'all, it's around August of 2020, and it's the first round of the playoffs. My family had rented an Airbnb in Virginia Beach, and it felt good just to get away. It was our first taste of freedom after being in isolation due to the pandemic. Everyone was still expected to social distance, wear masks, and a lot of public places were not fully open yet to capacity, but it was a good time to connect with family and spend our days at the beach. Y'all, I love the beach. I always feel connected to nature and to God. And this little getaway was exactly what we needed. We had a good time, good food, good drinks, laughter, family debates, and most of our debates were always around the Sixers and the NBA. Should we build the team around Ben Simmons or should we build the team around Joel Embiid? Y'all know that I was Team Ben back then. And one thing that we could all agree on was that it's probably time to get rid of Brett Brown. Y'all, I felt so honored to be a virtual fan during the playoffs. So it didn't matter what we were doing. I always made sure I was back at the Airbnb to log into my laptop to virtually cheer on my guys. Y'all, even though it was virtual, I actually felt like I was there in person. We got swept in the first round, getting shut out by the Celtics. And I took to social media and I posted, outcoached, outplayed, no chemistry, no heart. This game was painful to watch. As disappointed as I am in their performance, I still love these guys. Hashtag fan for life. I felt like the previous year's team was so much better, and I felt like we had took a huge step backwards. And it sucked getting eliminated in the first round. But at the same time, I thought, you know what? I don't want to win a championship like this, in a bubble. We wouldn't be able to have a real celebration. There would be no parade down Broad Street. And I didn't want to feel cheated out of that experience. That season, the Lakers beat Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat in the bubble. But honestly, y'all, I really didn't care. On August 20th, Mike Missanelli interviewed Charles Barkley on his afternoon show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Barkley said that it may be wise to split up Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And I went to social media and I posed 2 questions. Number 1, would you do it? Number 2, who you keeping? The majority were in favor of splitting up Embiid and Simmons. And there was an overwhelming response to keep Embiid and get rid of Ben. And it's funny because at the time, I really thought that Ben had the most potential and would be the best player to build around. And as I admitted many times, I understood the fact that Ben didn't shoot, but Ben was a ball handler and he easily found the open players and made everyone else around him better. And he was a physical player who played good defense. And as I have repeatedly mentioned, we would always put Ben on the opposing team's best player, and he did the best job shutting them down. I was a Ben Simmons fan, and no one could deny the fact that we could always count on Ben to suit up and play. So for me, the best ability is always availability. Later that month, on August 24th, Coach Brett Brown was fired. It was time. It was necessary. I felt like Brett Brown was a good development coach for young players. But now we had playoff and championship aspirations. It was time for a coach upgrade. And I remember there was talk of Tyronn Lue. Yes, we always associate Tyronn Lue with Iverson stepping over him, but we cannot deny the fact that he did win an NBA championship and he was a young and upcoming NBA coach. And I had respect for Tyronn Lue, so I would have liked to have him as our new coach to replace Brett. But there was also talk of Jay Wright, the iconic and legendary coach at Villanova University, being one of the front runners for the position. I still had my concerns because I thought Jay Wright is a proven winner at the college level, but could that translate to the NBA? Well, Jay Wright put all this to rest with a press release to end any speculation that he was a candidate for the head coach position. He stated that while he was a lifelong Sixers fan, he was still very honored and happy to coach at Villanova. I was like, I get it. Jay Wright is Villanova basketball. He ain't going nowhere. Then, y'all, by the end of August, we learned that Allen Iverson's Georgetown coach, John Thompson, had passed away. Shortly after that, then Chadwick Boseman died. And y'all, that crushed me. He was young and it was so unexpected. And that news came out of nowhere. And I think just knowing how he dealt with his illness while still filming, oh my God, I think that hit everyone hard. And then I think in that same week, it was reported that former Portland Trailblazer Cliff Robinson had died. It was so sad. Like, it was heavy during this time. And then it felt like we couldn't escape the news of hearing more unarmed black people getting killed. And y'all, it was more hashtags than I could keep up with. And it felt like as soon as I began to emotionally heal, I was being re-traumatized over and over and over again. And I was still expected to work and function as if all of this was normal. Then on August 24th, we got some good news. Finally! Y'all, Joel Embiid announced the birth of his son Arthur with girlfriend at the time, now his wife, Anna Paula. With everything feeling so bleak, it was refreshing to hear this good news, and I was so happy for Joel. Y'all, on September 18th, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died at the age of 87. She was a pioneer, and her death would now allow Trump to appoint her replacement. Now, I know a lot of the things that I'm talking about doesn't necessarily apply to basketball or even the Sixers, but y'all, what I'm trying to do is provide the timeline for your own personal reference. Y'all, we started the month of October with the news that we hired Doc Rivers, actually on October 1st. Yeah. And y'all, I was happy with hiring Doc as our new head coach. He was an upgrade from Brett Brown, but at the same time, I still had my concerns because it was well known that even though he coached the Boston Celtics to a championship, Doc Rivers also had the reputation of getting to the playoffs and getting out-coached and even losing leads. But overall, I was optimistic and I was like, welcome to Philly, Doc Rivers. We now had a championship caliber coach. I figured Doc would also know how to best utilize Tobias Harris because Tobias used to play for Doc Rivers with the Los Angeles Clippers. And I always felt like Tobias was a good, solid player. Brett Brown just didn't know how to best utilize him. So I was looking forward to see how Tobias's role would change under Doc. I have noted here just a few days later on October 6th, legendary guitarist Eddie Van Halen died. Then I have noted here on October 9th, Embiid lost his dog, who was named Klaus Hinkie, due to internal bleeding after an elevator door closed on him. Oh my God, I remember. That was so sad. Keep in mind, they had just had Arthur, and they had just lost their dog, and I felt so sad for them. Then on that same day, Sixers sideline reporter Serena Winters, along with, I believe, Derek Gunn and a few others, were part of a layoff at NBC Sports Philadelphia. And I was sad because I like Serena Winters. Then the following week was the vice presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. And that was when the fly landed on Pence and he had those red bloodshot eyes. And I'm sure that man had COVID during that debate. Then at the end of October, I believe around October 28th, in addition to hiring Daryl Morey as president of basketball operations, Sixers also added Sam Cassell to the coaching staff. Now, y'all, I like the Sam Cassell addition. A respectable former player, young coach. Even though he was a former Boston Celtic, I was happy about this move. Y'all, it was all coming together and we were slowly coming out of the pandemic. It was beginning to feel like a new beginning. Y'all, we had a new president of basketball of operations in Daryl Morey. We had a new head coach in Doc Rivers. We had a new assistant coach in Sam Cassell. It was a new Sixers era. And in life, and as a Sixers fan, I was feeling good. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And be sure to tune in next weekend as we continue the story.